You can eat all the protein you want. You can lift weights 5 days a week. You can buy the powders, the fish oil, the expensive, healthy aging supplements, and do everything that looks right on paper. But if you're over 55 and your recovery is poor, your sleep is broken, and your nutrition timing is chaotic, your body may never fully cash in on all that effort. And that's the part almost nobody tells you. Because after 55, muscle isn't just about what you do in the gym. It's about what your body can actually repair, absorb, and recover from when the day is over. The suspense hook. And in this video, I'm going to show you 2 nighttime supplement strategies that are often discussed in older adults trying to stay strong, without pretending they're magic. I'll start with the more familiar one. Then I'll reveal the overlooked mineral that may matter more than most people realize if you're low in it. And before we're done, I'll also show you 3 common supplements that many people take at night in the wrong way, accidentally making recovery, sleep, and muscle support harder instead of easier. One of them is so common, there's a good chance it's already on your nightstand. So if you care about building strength after 55, protecting your independence, and making sure your effort actually pays off, subscribe now, and stay with me until the end, because the last section could save you from wasting months on the wrong routine. The truth about muscle after 55. Let's clear something up right away. There is no single supplement that guarantees muscle growth. Not magnesium. Not zinc. Not omega-3. Not protein powder. Not anything. If you want to preserve or build muscle as you age, the foundation is still the same. Enough protein, regular resistance training, and consistency. Harvard Health notes that protein matters, but the biggest improvement in muscle mass and strength in healthy older adults comes from combining adequate protein with resistance exercise. The National Institute on Aging also emphasizes that strength training helps older adults slow age-related muscle loss, maintain mobility, and preserve independence. Harvard Health National Institute on Aging. So if someone tells you, just take this one thing at night and your muscles will explode with growth, that's not science. That's marketing. But here's where things do get interesting. Even though supplements are not the foundation, certain nutrient deficiencies can absolutely make recovery, sleep, and muscle function worse, especially in older adults. That's why this video matters. Because after 55, your body becomes less forgiving. If sleep is poor, recovery suffers. If nutrition is off, training suffers. If a mineral deficiency is quietly building in the background, your muscles may never perform the way they could. And that's where the right nighttime strategy can help, not as a miracle, but as support. First, let's fix the omega-3 myth. You may have heard that omega-3 is the answer to everything. That's not true. But the opposite isn't true either. Omega-3s were not a lie. They're simply not enough on their own. A major review on nutritional supplementation for sarcopenia found that resistance training remains the first-line treatment, and nutrition support may help most when it works alongside exercise and adequate protein, not instead of them. The same review discusses omega-3s as one of many nutrients being studied, but not as a standalone cure. PubMed Central. So if you've been taking omega-3 and expecting it to do the work of training, protein, sleep, and recovery by itself, that expectation was the problem, not the nutrient. That matters because too many people quit too early. They say, I took the supplement. Why didn't I change? And the answer is often painful but simple. Because supplements support the system. They do not replace it. Why nighttime matters more than people think. Your body does not build muscle while you scroll on your phone and sip coffee at noon. Recovery happens when stress comes down, when movement is over, when protein from the day has been digested, and when sleep allows repair processes to do their job. That doesn't mean muscle only grows during one magical 2-hour window at midnight. That claim is oversimplified and unreliable. What is true is this. If your nights are poor, if your sleep is shallow, interrupted, restless, or constantly disrupted, your recovery will suffer. And older adults already face more challenges with sleep, recovery, and muscle maintenance than younger people. That's why the nighttime routine matters so much. Not because bedtime itself is magical, but because recovery is. Nighttime support number 1, magnesium. Let's start with magnesium. This is the one many people have heard of, but very few people understand properly. Magnesium is not a muscle-building steroid. It is not a shortcut. But it is deeply involved in processes that matter for muscle function. The NIH Office of Dietary Supplements explains that magnesium is a cofactor in more than 300 enzyme systems and is involved in protein synthesis, muscle and nerve function, and the movement of calcium and potassium across cell membranes, all of which are relevant to muscle contraction and recovery. That alone should get your attention. Because if a nutrient is involved in protein synthesis and muscle function, then being low in it can quietly work against everything you're trying to do. And older adults are one of the groups at higher risk of magnesium inadequacy. The NIH fact sheet specifically lists older adults among those more likely to have inadequate magnesium status, along with people using certain medications such as loop diuretics, thiazide diuretics, and long-term proton pump inhibitors. Now here's the important part. The evidence on magnesium supplementation is promising, but not absolute. A 2023 review on magnesium and muscle integrity in aging concluded that magnesium plays a pivotal role in skeletal muscle health and that the evidence is encouraging, but also stressed that more high-quality randomized trials are still needed, especially in older adults. PubMed Central. That means we should talk about magnesium honestly. Not as hype. Not as fantasy. But as a potentially useful support nutrient, especially if intake is low, deficiency risk is high, sleep is poor, or cramping and muscle function are concerns. Why people take it at night? A lot of people prefer magnesium in the evening because it can fit naturally into a calming bedtime routine. Some forms, like magnesium glycinate, are often chosen because they're generally well tolerated. But here's the key truth. Magnesium helps most if you actually need it, not just because the clock says bedtime. So if you're taking it, the Real Win is not midnight muscle magic. The Real Win is supporting a body that can relax, recover, and function better overall. Food first option. If you'd rather think in meals than pills, that's a smart instinct. Magnesium-rich foods include pumpkin seeds, spinach, beans, nuts, and whole grains. Building dinners around foods like salmon, legumes, cooked greens, and seeds can support overall intake while also helping you get protein in at the same time. And emotionally, that matters too. Because sometimes what people really need isn't one more bottle. It's one better routine. But magnesium alone is not enough. This is where so many people get stuck. They find one good supplement, put all their hope into it, and then feel betrayed when their body doesn't transform. But muscle after 55 does not respond well to wishful thinking. It responds to systems. And if magnesium is part of that system, it still needs to sit alongside enough protein, some resistance training, and the next nutrient we need to talk about. Nighttime support number 2, zinc. Zinc is the overlooked one in this conversation. Not because it's flashy, but because it quietly does a lot. The NIH Office of Dietary Supplements states that zinc is required for the catalytic activity of hundreds of enzymes and plays roles in immune function, protein synthesis, DNA synthesis, wound healing, and cell signaling. It also notes that older adults may have marginal zinc intakes, and zinc deficiency in older adults can contribute to delayed wound healing and cognitive or psychological changes. Now let's be very careful here. There is not strong evidence that simply taking zinc at night automatically builds muscle dramatically in all older adults. That would be an exaggeration. But zinc absolutely matters to the systems that help the body recover and maintain itself. And there is evidence that zinc status can influence testosterone in men who are deficient or marginally low. Classic human research found that zinc supplementation in marginally zinc-deficient elderly men increased serum testosterone over time. That doesn't mean zinc is a universal testosterone booster. It means deficiency matters. And correcting a deficiency can matter. That's the adult, evidence-based version of the story. Why some people use it in the evening. Some people choose zinc later in the day simply because it fits their routine and keeps it separated from minerals that compete with its absorption. But again, the clock is not the superpower. The nutrient status is. And this is what I want you to hear if you've been frustrated. Your body may not need more hype. It may need fewer missing pieces. Zinc is one of those pieces worth paying attention to, especially if your diet is limited, your appetite is lower, or your intake from foods like meat, shellfish, legumes, dairy, and seeds is inconsistent. Food first option. If you want zinc from food, think beef, shellfish, dairy, beans, and pumpkin seeds. These can fit beautifully into dinners that also deliver protein, giving your body more than one kind of support at once. And that's the deeper lesson of this whole video. The most powerful routines are usually the least glamorous. Not one magic pill, but layers. Protein, movement, recovery, minerals, consistency. That's what ages well. Now the dangerous mistake, taking the wrong supplements at night. This is where things start to quietly go wrong. Because some supplements aren't necessarily bad. They're just used carelessly. Wrong dose, wrong timing, wrong combination, wrong reason. And when that happens, people blame aging, when sometimes the real problem is chaos. So let's walk through 3 bedtime mistakes that are much more common than most people realize. Mistake number 1. Iron at night without a clear reason. This one matters because iron is not a casual supplement. Iron should usually be taken when there is a real need, such as diagnosed iron deficiency or anemia, not just because someone feels tired. And if you are taking iron, bedtime may not be the most comfortable choice for many people. But because oral iron commonly causes gastrointestinal side effects like nausea, stomach discomfort, constipation, or abdominal upset. If something irritates your stomach late at night, it may not technically destroy muscle, but it can absolutely make sleep worse, and poor sleep makes recovery harder. There's another reason to be careful. Iron can interfere with the absorption of other minerals. In practice, it's often kept separate from zinc and sometimes from calcium-containing foods or supplements depending on the regimen. So the real evidence-based message is this. If you need iron, take it intentionally and under guidance. But don't throw it into your nighttime stack casually and assume more is better. Because supplements that solve one problem can create another when they're used blindly. Mistake number 2. B-complex right before bed. Now let's talk about B vitamins. Here's where nuance matters. B vitamins are essential nutrients. They are not the enemy. They help the body use energy from food and support many normal functions. But many people experience B-complex, especially formulas heavy in B12 or B6, as energizing or stimulating. That's one reason they're commonly taken earlier in the day. The evidence here is not strong enough to make a dramatic absolute statement like, B vitamins at night destroy your muscle growth. That would be misleading. But it is fair to say this. If a supplement makes you feel more alert, vivid, wired, or mentally switched on, bedtime is probably not the smartest moment to take it. Because the goal at night is not stimulation. The goal is sleep. And after 55, protecting sleep is protecting recovery. That alone makes the timing conversation worth having. Mistake number 3. Large calcium doses at night, especially without thinking about magnesium. Calcium is another nutrient that gets oversimplified. People hear bones and assume more calcium equals better. But the NIH calcium fact sheet explains that calcium absorption decreases as intake gets higher. Absorption from supplements is best at doses of 500 milligrams or less at one time, and calcium absorption also declines with age. That means taking one huge calcium dose at night is not automatically a great plan. And there's more. Research notes that calcium and magnesium may compete during absorption in the gastrointestinal tract. PubMed Central. So if someone is swallowing a large calcium supplement at the same time as magnesium and expecting both to work perfectly, that may not be the smartest setup. Now, I want to be careful here too. It would be misleading to claim that nighttime calcium automatically turns muscles to concrete or directly calcifies muscle tissue in every person. That kind of language sounds dramatic, but it overstates what the evidence shows. The better takeaway is this. If you use calcium supplements, use them thoughtfully. Smaller doses are generally better absorbed. Medication timing matters. And your overall calcium-magnesium balance is worth discussing with a clinician if you supplement regularly. NIH ODS PubMed Central. That's not sensational, but it is useful. And useful is what actually changes lives. The part nobody wants to hear. You can't out-supplement a weak foundation. You just can't. If you're under-eating protein, skipping strength training, sleeping badly, and living mostly sedentary, and then expecting magnesium and zinc to rescue everything, you're asking two small pieces to carry an entire broken system. That's not fair to your body. And it's not fair to you, because it sets you up for disappointment. The evidence-based pattern for older adults is much clearer than social media makes it sound. Get enough protein. Spread it across the day. Strength train regularly. Move often. Use supplements to correct gaps or support specific needs, not to replace the basics. Harvard Health notes that older adults may benefit from spreading protein intake through the day, and the National Institute on Aging recommends aiming for regular activity plus strength training 1 to 2 times per week. Harvard Health National Institute on Aging. That's the boring answer, which is exactly why it works. A smarter night routine for muscle support after 55. So if we put everything together, what does a smarter routine actually look like? It looks calm, simple, repeatable. Dinner that includes real protein. A bedtime routine that protects sleep instead of disrupting it. Magnesium if it makes sense for you and your clinician agrees. Zinc used thoughtfully, especially if your diet is low or deficiency is a concern. No random iron unless you've actually been told you need it. No giant calcium dumps all at once. No energizing supplements if they make you feel wired. And maybe most importantly, no fantasy that the bedtime stack matters more than the life around it. Because it doesn't. It supports the system. It is not the system. The emotional close. And maybe that's what this is really about. Not pills. Not bedtime rituals. Not labels. But peace. The peace of knowing you're no longer throwing random supplements at a problem and hoping one of them saves you. The peace of understanding what actually matters. The peace of building strength with clarity instead of confusion. After 55, muscle is not just vanity. It's stability. It's confidence. It's climbing stairs without fear. It's carrying groceries. Standing longer. Falling less. Recovering better. Keeping your independence. And if a smarter nighttime routine helps support that, even a little, that matters. A lot.